Hey there. Let's talk about this pen. This is a pen that recently came in stock with Appelboom. They sold it for a while, didn't sell it for a while, now they sell it again. So I said, well, why don't we try and do something with it? It might be fun. Now, I have reviewed a couple of Caran pens in the past before, but not this one. This is an Ecridor, and they come in different finishes. They have different engravings. This is the retro, which has very fine engraving. This might be the best time to show you rather than later, but you may be able to see it when I point the camera down too. It's kind of interesting. Hexagonal pen, which is neat because you don't see an enormous number of hexagonal pens. Slimmer, so if you like slimmer pens, this might be right up your alley. That's pretty cool. Steel nibs, but interestingly made pens. Swiss, so ka-ching! But having said that, nice pen. We're going to cover the parts of the pen. I'll do a writing sample. I'll tell you what I like about it and what I don't like about it. Let's get started. Let's talk about this Caran Ecridor Retro. What a beautiful red box. It's a very, very intense red, and I have to say I like it. I like how bright this is. It's a cardboard outer sleeve, and then you have the box. The box is, in my mind, is very Swiss. It's no frills. Here we go. So we have a little bag for the pen. I had to rip that, couldn't get it out, but it's actually labeled, right? It's branded. Pen bed, we take it out. We have a pretty extensive, sorry, I'm fiddling with that, pretty extensive owner's guide that's pretty thick and nice and colorful and describes their inks and all that stuff. And a little box with cartridge. Now I put in, it comes with a converter as well, so I just used some bottled ink, but you're ready to go straight away with a cartridge if you want. And here is that pen. I'm going to zoom in a bit. The Ecridor, right next to a Pilot Metropolitan. So what can we say about the Ecridor? Well, a couple of things. If you don't mind, I'm just going to say Ecridor as opposed to Ecridor or something just a little easier in English. There are various engravings available. This one happens to be the retro engraving, which has a very fine lozenge-shaped engraving. I don't know how well you can see that, but it is there. For the Dutch friends, wiebertje, right? It's a hexagonal pen, which I think is quite cool. You can get the nibs in fine, medium, and broad. They are steel. And this particular, lozenge-shaped engraving, which, by the way, almost no texture to it, is based on a mechanical pencil from 1947. It's a silver-plated pen, so not solid silver, but silver-plated pen with a rhodium coating to prevent tarnish. It is cartridge converter filled, and Caran has been around since 1924. So this year, 2024, 100 years in business, which is pretty neat. Finer pen, as in slim, refined, classic. I like that hexagonal profile a lot. You don't see that an enormous amount out there. What do you call that? Enormous number of times out there, but it is quite neat. So let's talk about the parts of the pen. There is this hexagonal sort of symbol on the finial, which I think is quite nice. We have a clip that is nice and clippy. It's not too tight, not too loose. I also kind of like the way this is attached. It looks kind of neat and a bit retro. So you have, I'm trying to show you off that engraving. It's pretty difficult because it's quite refined. But so we have that. It is a slip cap. The advantage of that is that you can just align facets and cap and barrel, because I know there are people out there like me who would hate it if it is misaligned like that. It just doesn't work. I won't lose, my temper over it, but I do like it with a screw-on cap that can be more finicky. Straight barrel. Then we have this end cap, which allows you to very securely post the pen, and then you have a nicely sized pen, certainly slim, but nicely sized. We have a slim section that tapers down, and then we have a nib that looks like it's about number 5, I would say. It has some nice scroll work on the end there. It has a breather hole, and it has, again, a hexagonal profile, which I think is quite nice. This is a medium, but they, like I said, come in fine and broad as well. Looks like a regular plastic feed, and when opened up, the pen is fed by cartridge or converter, as seen here, and the converter is also branded Caran. I always like that, just because I think it looks a little bit more refined when it's branded with the brand of the pen. Note the little sort of, I don't know what material this is, but plastic, rubber, whatever, but O-ring there, which makes sure that your pen doesn't unscrew accidentally. And when you do screw this back in place, you do feel that kind of gripping the barrel, which is, I think, quite nice. Caran, nice writer. Speaking of that, let's see how it writes. I'm going to use it unposted. I prefer to use it unposted. I find that when you post it, it becomes a little top heavy because of all the metal. So I actually like using this unposted. We have here the Ecridor. This is a medium stainless steel nib, and the ink is very simply Waterman Serenity Blue, the regular blue. I remembered again as I used this, not having used a Caran pen for quite a while, how very nice their nibs are. They're just very smooth, very pleasant to use. Even this pen, I don't think I mentioned the price, did I? It's not cheap, 231 euros. For a steel nib, it's quite a lot. I'll come back to that in likes and dislikes. But having said that, steel nib, very pleasant writer. Very good ink flow. It is really nice. As I said, pretty wet. So I really like the way this writes. Nice round nib. As you can see, no real skipping. I like that. Line variation, well, I mean, it's not advertised as a flex nib. Very, very careful. You could squeeze out some line variation. This was not a skip, that was me doing that. But be very, very careful. It's not a, this says nothing. I was just doing the LLO over because there was a bit of a skip there. I just want to make sure people don't think this says ho or something. Because it's not Christmas, children. Now, what about reverse writing? Actually works. Pretty smooth, bit more feedback, pretty smooth, turns it from a medium into a good fine. So if that's something that really matters to you, this is a pen you can actually use upside down and get 2 nibs for the price of 1. Now, let's talk about likes and dislikes. Now, what do I like and do I not like about the Caran Ecridor? It has a couple of things going for it. It's slimmer. I'm not a huge fan of slim pens just because that size doesn't work out very well with my hands, but that is a purely subjective thing. A more objective thing is that it's a very pleasant writer. Caran nibs, I hadn't used the Caran for a while, and as I was using this one, I remembered how much I love their nibs. They're very well made, they're very smooth, they're very pleasant to use. So if you buy a pen to actually write with, not to put in your desk and impress people, but actually write with, Caran is a very nice brand. It's a very, very pleasant writer. That to me, their nibs are on par with brands like St. Dupont, for example, which also makes very smooth nibs, very pleasant to use. Other people may disagree with that, but that's just my opinion. I like that the pen is postable, especially for a slimmer pen. That does add a little bit more heft to it. It does become quite long, but it's a very solid posting action. I do really like that. It's nice and slim profile. It looks classic, and I do like that. I like the hexagonal shape. It's cool, it's neat. Like I said, you don't see it all the time. That makes for a pretty nice look. Things I don't like so much. I think it's very expensive. 231 euros and 40 cents. That's without VAT. And with a stainless steel nib. At that price, I was just in the same session, I'm reviewing a Sailor Pro Gear Slim, which is a pocket pen. It's 173 euros and it has a 21 karat gold nib. So at this price range, I expect a gold nib. and we don't get it. Now, having said that, this steel nib is a wonderful writer. So I don't know if it really matters, but I know that to some people it does. And I feel that at that price, you need to do something to warrant that price. Now, it is silver plated, but silver plating is not a solid silver pen. It's not like, say, a Yarda lead, which is a solid silver pen, right? Silver plated. So the money ain't there, in my mind, for how this is priced. Having said that, again, super nice writer. So you have to make a decision whether you want to splurge on this. It certainly feels like a nice luxury pen, and everything, I will say that, Swiss made. All the tolerances are tight. There are no gaps, nothing is off, everything is perfectly centered. That is beautiful, and that is certainly some of the cost, right? The very tight manufacturing process. So I will absolutely give them that. Wonderful little pen, but not cheap. I hope this was useful. A very kind thank you to Joost for lending me the pen. I'll gladly see you later. Bye!